My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Noonas, your sisters in the love of vacation entertainment.
Hi, I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And this is, you're thinking there, you looked at the title, and you saw hit list, and you're like, wait a second, Sky's here. We've recruited her for, we occasionally recruit her into our nonsense on the hit list. And so she's here as a special hit list guest this week. Yay! To talk about what I think is just the quintessential Be Gay Do Crime film that I think has ever been made.
Basically. At least definitely for South Korea.
Yes, for South Korea. And we're talking about the 2016 film The Handmaiden, which I believe is on Amazon Prime if you're in the States.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fairly easy to find, like, purchase-wise.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was a very popular, famous film at its time, and we're going to talk about it. And as always with these hit list episodes, y'all about to get spoiled.
And this is a movie that, like, spoilers will happen.
Spoilers, and if you haven't seen it, please go watch it before listening to us, because we don't want to be responsible for spoiling some of the greatest plot twists you've ever seen.
Right, and we also kind of, like, let's be real, we talk in circles a lot, so we're not going to be linear, and, like, this doesn't work if you don't know what's going on in the film. It's not going to help you.
Well, I mean, and so if you haven't watched it, there are content warnings. We won't get it, but, like, be aware of those things, like suicidal type thing. You know, there's a lot of stuff. There's things.
So before you go watch it, warnings. There's a lot of nudity and sex. There's suicide.
There's some gore.
There's
like
some,
light.
There's light, violent gore. There's creeps. Just
there's
creeps.
Men.
There's men, like, and they're creeps. So keep that in mind. Because oh boy, they be creeping.
There is a bit of child violence. It's not too much, but it is there that I think that, like, some people might be uncomfortable with it.
Yeah. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So Jessie and I had already seen it. Probably not. I saw it probably in like 2018, I'd say. So it's been like a while.
It's been a while for me. I've seen it a couple of times, but, like, they were fairly close together. I rewatched, so it had been a while. Like, I rewatched it yesterday in anticipation of doing this episode, but yeah, it'd been a while.
And I rewatched it today because, you know, because I could, and I did. But Sky had never seen it, so she went into this just. I don't know. Sky, what did you expect when you went into this? I don't want to speak for you.
So I've wanted to watch it for a while. I just hadn't made time. And so being in Korean entertainment fan spaces, like, I've tried to not read a lot about it before because I knew it was something that I wanted to eventually watch, right? So I think something that's interesting is when I do that, I still end up with some type of impression of something before I watch it. I still end up with some knowledge, even though I try to avoid. So it's funny how, like, for instance, the movie has, like, 3 parts to it. I mean, it straight up says part 1, part 2, part 3. And, like, I was very unaware that was there's no way I would have known that. But that kind of threw me for a loop because I didn't. The way it all unfolded, like, all this stuff happened, and it felt like that feels like an end. Like, and and so then it was like, oh, then we're gonna kind of revert, like, we're gonna kind of start from the beginning this direction. And so, like, I was very unaware of that. But the impression that I was under, I knew that there was kind of a lot of, you know, some explicit sexuality. I knew that there were, like, lesbian vibes, at least. Like, I didn't really know. I had seen a clip before of, like, them being on the boat at the end, like, with one of them in a hat. Like, so like I saw a little. So like, but I was very unaware of. I knew that they were creepy dudes. I kind of knew they were creepy dudes, and they got away from creepy dudes. Like that is really all I knew going into this, and so I felt like it was going to be this linear escape plot thing.
And oh boy, is that not the case?
So in my brain, what the plot was going to be like, things will happen, and then they're gonna like off the dudes, and they're gonna peace out on the boat. Like that's like what I thought was gonna happen. Yeah. Like, so yeah. I mean, but
yeah, a little.
But it gets there.
The thing I was very unaware of from the get-go was how I think Kim Tae-ree's character is that the correct actor?
Yep.
How her character was like a con artist of sorts. I was very unaware of that. I really thought she was just straight up servant. Like I didn't know that was an aspect.
That she was like part of the like plot of the guy.
Right. So like that threw me for a loop. Like on back, I was like, dude. I'm like I was already into it, but I was like, oh, she's like a con artist person. I'm in. Like that's
say less.
Yes. And so, yeah, like, and I really did enjoy the 3-part thing. I thought the way it was told was very cool because I was expecting fairly linear, like chronological, the entire thing. Oh, it was not that. So that was really cool. Like I wasn't ready for the unique storytelling aspect of it.
Yeah. I always really like stories where it tells it and then you think something is happening and then it starts again from the beginning to be like, by the way,
this is the other perspective.
You just got. That is not what's happening. But this movie goes even further because then there's a third part where it's like, those first 2 parts, you got again. Not again. Like, no. Like, there's machinations within machinations.
But what was also nice about it, because sometimes when movies or shows do that, there's a lot of kind of your manipulation to where you really like you thought you saw it this way, but you really saw it this way type thing. Yeah. And that's not the way this was portrayed. It was just like, but here's also what was here was the additional thing, the additional layer that you were unaware of. Yeah. And I thought I like that as opposed to like, like we got you bad. Yeah. To where like there would have been no way you would have known anything type thing.
I also like that like you had the sense of what was going on and kind of the manipulation of everyone else, but that like all the characters also, even though they had these like schemes like ahead, they like knew what they were doing, there was also like this kind of like air about them that they kind of changed midway too. They were like, oh, actually, like, yeah, I'm having feelings for this girl, so let's just do this. Like, there was still that kind of like, even though they were manipulating everybody else and had this like evil plan or whatever, they still like showed them kind of like derailing themselves almost in like in a good way, and it like eventually helps out like, you know, the main couple. But I just thought that was like an interesting little added touch to it. It was kind of like, you know, give it the characters a little bit of something.
Yeah.
I also just really enjoyed how the overall theme of the movie was just, damn, men ain't shit.
Yeah, basically.
And also, men, easy to fuck with. Those were the two conclusions that this movie comes to, is that
and he thought he was doing so well.
He thought he was doing something. Okay. We should probably, like, before we go too deep, give you a basic, just for anyone who was never gonna watch this.
Okay.
And just comes to listen to us, because they're like, okay, I can watch vicariously through them telling me what was fun about it, because I can't take some aspect of it, okay? You meet Suki, who is sort of a petty criminal, who is the daughter of a petty criminal who was hung for being a petty criminal, who gets hired by this con man, who's like, there's this girl. This is in 1930s Korea during Japanese occupation, so like just before everything starts to go down, World War II vibes, okay? So he's like, I got the biggest score of our lives. There's this heiress who lives with her uncle. Her uncle, bit of a D-bag, okay? She inherited all this money from her parents, but he wants to marry his own niece to get her money? Gross. So, but I want to help her in a way, but also just steal all her money myself because I deserve it more than her creepy incestuous uncle.
Because poor me.
Poor me.
And then the plan is to dump her at the madhouse.
Yeah. So he's like, so what you're gonna do is, I got you a job as her new personal maid, and you're gonna convince her. I'm gonna like show up and like be suave and seduce her, and you're gonna convince her to marry me, and then we're gonna go to Japan, get married, and then I'm gonna get her to transfer all of her money to me, and then I'm gonna say she's crazy and put her in an insane asylum, and then I'm gonna give you $50,000 or whatever, however much. I think it was 50,000. It said 50,000, whatever that.
Yeah, like
was.
Clothing, I think, was like the main
Yeah, you can steal whatever you want from her, and
Yeah.
and she's like, okay, fine, but I also want money on top of it. And he's like, done. So then she's like, okay, I'm gonna go be this lady's maid. And I hear that she's just kind of simple and
Maybe a
never
little
goes
weird.
anywhere and kind of weird and just sits at home and reads books. Just loves reading books. Lie number one. It's one thing this girl doesn't like doing. It's reading books.
Yeah. One aspect of this, by the way, if you're thinking, oh, there's like bookish themes,
No.
that sounds charming. Do not come to this movie for bookish themes.
It'll
I mean,
take you
there
away
are
from
books, but it ain't charming. It ain't charming.
No.
So she goes and she works in this, moves into this, estate where all the maids are really mean to her and everyone's kind of douchey to the the lady who lives there. Also, the uncle's fucking weird as hell, and off-putting. And she's like, okay, this is fucking weird. But then she's like, well, I gotta stick to the plan. But oh no, she kind of feels bad for this secluded heiress.
Yeah, she feels
seems
bad.
crazy.
That's what she feels.
And then, no, she starts out feeling bad. And then she feels
For like 2 seconds.
a little horny about it, right? And she's like, damn, this girl's also the most beautiful woman I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm down to clown.
Well, I did like the line because there's a little bit of like inward narration for a second, and she's like, he could have warned me that she was so pretty.
Yeah.
I had to take a moment because I was kind of fluxumed. Thank you.
And yes, very gorgeous. Okay, the actress who plays her, Kim Min-hee, gorgeous. So then, the plot progresses as per his plot, except that they also be fucking. They go to Japan. The marriage takes place, but then, oh no, they throw the maid into the insane asylum? What's going on? What a plot twist. We then get taken back.
So then it's part 2.
Yeah. Part 2 begins. Where you learn about the absolutely, I don't even know what word to use for her, this, heiress's upbringing.
When she's
unsettling.
like 6, 7,
It is
8,
like
young.
A
Yeah.
horror story, but like not a horror movie.
yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
So basically you find out that no, the uncle isn't just weird and trying to sell. Oh yeah, he was trying to sell like forged books. Was like the uncle's
that's
big
like
money making
yeah.
scheme. That's not what was going on. What the uncle is doing is the uncle's just a fucking pervert who was making his wife do erotic readings to these creepy old men who would then pay to like have her BDSM them. But the wife not into it, and then hung herself.
So I actually I will wait to have a question asterisk there. I will discuss that later.
okay.
I wondered if it was an inward thought thing. Like it was.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then after the wife dies, he's then making his little niece, who at the time is like 10 years old.
Yeah, she's tiny. She's a
Yeah.
child.
Cute little actress. Makes her take over for his dead wife, being entertaining creepy men, which is where the con man comes in, because he goes to one of these creepy old man erotic reading parties, and then starts ingratiating himself in like with the uncle, and then is like to the girl like, hey, let's you and I come to an agreement. We split your fortune, get away from your uncle, okay? And then I will get you another identity that you can live under, because I know someone who no one will miss if we get rid of them. And thus enters Suki. But then the heiress is like, but wait a second, this girl actually genuinely cares about me. What if, and then is like, hey, Suki, this is then part 3 begins, where she's like, what if you and I triple cross the con man, who we all know is a con man, and pretend like his plan is gonna work, but then we do to him what he did to us, and we take off and live lesbian happy lives and steal his identity. And incredible. Just chef's kiss.
Story-wise, like, lovely movie. It could have been a drama. And they could have it could have filled 20 solid episodes of unraveling
like the shit
this.
They get up to in this. Mind you, it would definitely never be a drama.
Yeah, it would never be. But I was just meaning, even plot-wise, like, as far as the unraveling of the crossing and stuff, because like they had to click along with this in order to cover all this so quick. Like, there was not really a moment of, oh, we're just chilling. No, like, it was stuff was happening.
Move it.
Yeah, you're like, wait, what? Wait, she's going into the mental hospital. Oh wait, what's going on?
Yeah, they didn't even give you like a few beats to like think about that. It was like, nope, here we go.
Here we go. Now let's tell you why this just happened.
Back. Go to this other room.
It is such a tightly written and filmed show, and beautifully filmed.
Oh my gosh,
movie.
So pretty,
like gorgeously filmed. Absolutely fantastic. Very sort of like a gothic feel to it too. Like when you're watching it, like that's like the vibe that you get.
It's got like kind of like European vibes to it.
Yeah,
like the way it's directed, like. But, like, also just, like, skewed just a little, because there's, like, hints of, like, Japanese filmography, too. Like, it's got this, like, kind of skew in, like, different elements, and it makes it fun and enjoyable.
Kind of like the house. So, the main house, the architecture is, like, half British or something, and half Japanese.
Yeah.
And, like they said that for a second, so, yeah.
And it had our lady Kim Hae-suk in it.
Yes, she was so good.
I just want to say,
great job.
Not playing her usual lovely mother.
Yeah, she's not lovely in this, but
no, she's fantastic. But she's kind of a piece of shit.
Not a fun grandma or mom.
Kind of a bad person.
Yeah.
Who seems totally cool with sexual exploitation of minors for some fucking reason.
Who knows?
This movie is just absolutely fantastic.
This type of thing though, like, it makes me ask questions like, how do these rich dudes send out invitations for come to creepy erotic reading party? Like, how do you have a little social circle that you create like this? Like,
how also like sit around like just on steps, like with each other too, like not in a darkened room or anything.
Like, this is a dude thing, because Benjamin Franklin was doing shit like that when he was in Europe back in the day. So like they were going to freaky sex parties all the time. Like, so I think this is like a dude thing that like they're totally cool with these weird sex things together that like, it's the same thing, like every time we watch like a BL and they just have a scene where it's just a bunch of dudes watching porn together, and I'm like, this fucking weird, right? Like,
well, as far as
watching porn,
right? As far as dudes being like, oh, this is such a straight activity. It's like, is it though? Is it?
Is this circle jerk the straight activity that you think it is? Like, Are we sure about that?
That's what we're bringing up as a question. Like, really?
Like, listen, you tell yourself what you need to tell yourself to get through the day, but like, you know.
I mean, shall we unpack how patriarchy is super homoerotic? Like, there we go.
A little bit, but refuses to admit that it is.
Yeah.
I do have a few questions about the creepy uncle.
Okay.
A few questions. Actually, I just have one question. What the fuck was he doing with that octopus in the basement? In fact, you know what? I don't want to know what he was doing with that octopus in the basement.
There's a lot of things about the basement because you get the you see her go down when she's young to the basement. And it's like the first and only time that she's down there, and you don't actually see what's going down for real. And you're like, okay, what's going on? You know that
it's some kind of fucked up fuck dungeon down there. Like,
yeah, and I guess like you kind of see maybe what it is when he ends up like taking the guy at the end when he's discussing how he's gonna get the girls back and all this stuff, and he's like chopping off fingers and stuff, but yeah, it's
something.
It's something you don't want to know.
Yeah,
and
it was
probably like, honestly, it was probably one of those things where like, just put that there. We don't explain it, just put it there, and then everybody's gonna be just weirded out by it.
So like, as far as that, it feels like a horror element the whole time.
Yeah,
the basement, like, because it really does feel like whatever the worst thing you can possibly imagine, it feels like that's what it was, whatever that.
Yeah,
and you know what, you're better off not knowing. I gotta say though, the actor playing the uncle, Jo Jin-woong, he's an excellent actor. He must have had to like scrub himself clean after every day that he was playing this role, because he was playing the worst person you've ever seen in your fucking life. And also, they really made him look a lot older than he is.
Like, wow.
I will say that, like, they made him, like, he's the most cartoonish out of every, like, character. Like, so he's very much, like, you look at him and he, like, is, like, a Rocking Bullwinkle type, like, villain, you know? Like, very
he's constantly, like, licking his brush, like, that he's drawing with, so he has, like, ink on his mouth all the time. And he's carried around everywhere, and he has these crazy eyebrows that look like they're about to take flight. Like, boy, he's selling the role as creepiest man you've ever met. Just absolute criminal pervert. And you're just like, you know what? Good on you, buddy. Like, you sold this cartoonish role to make it fit in this world where nothing else is cartoonish.
Well, I will say, there was one moment that I was not expecting to laugh, and I laughed out loud for a second. Okay, there was a moment where the heiress character, she's contemplating suicide, so she goes to the hanging tree situation. And they end up so then the handmaiden like saves her from that and is holding her up, and then like has a shock for a second and like drops her and to where the heiress is flailing. And but like, it was kind of comical, and I was like, I don't know if this was really supposed to be that comical, but it was kind of comical, but it was like, oh no, I feel bad laughing, but I'm laughing right now, like, and then she's like, oh no, and then she goes and grabs her. It was just so funny to me. So like, sometimes they didn't have a ton of banter between those two characters, but that was a moment of like, oh no, I'm sorry, like, it was just really funny.
I feel like with this movie, if you watched Thelma and Louise and thought to yourself, I wish they had just been lesbians.
Yeah.
I have not seen Thelma and Louise.
Aww. Okay.
Someday.
Well, just know,
I have such a long list.
That's another men ain't shit movie, you know? You know, this one has a bit more of a definite ending than Thelma and Louise does. Let's just say that.
Well, so my imagining of this was really going to be that the lead gals would like directly off the dudes and flee, and we sadly did not get that type of satisfaction.
You know, I feel though that their revenge is actually more satisfying in a little bit of way, because they let them destroy themselves.
And I think it's also like, it's forcing them to realize that they were played by the women. Like, and
because like
they make a point.
Stabbed, like
it's like whatever, but like they make a point of like kind of like focusing on just like how like incompetent these men are and how just like they're not like they're nothing comparatively, like even just like in the two sex scenes you can see like where like one it's like definitely having the pleasure of it, but like the other she's just like sitting there like drinking, like taking shots of wine because she's like, this is boring.
Right.
And I think that like that like adds to it. It's just like the show how just like incompetent and just like useless they are to the women, because they serve nothing for them. They don't even serve pleasure for the women.
And they also believed that they were so much smarter and so much more superior than this one heiress they thought was crazy and a maid they thought was stupid. Like, and it's perfection. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, they were like, no, guess what? You done played yourself. Listen, the technology to give me a fake mustache exists. We are turning your own plan against you, and I'm taking your identity, motherfucker. Deal with it. Like, perfection. Just chef's kiss. Mm-hmm. And they said, you know, oh, you made us read these erotic things about lesbians? Well, guess what?
Guess what?
'Twas I, the lesbian, all along.
Well, I think what was actually kind of nice about that aspect, too, was... Well, so a really cool scene was whenever it gets revealed, essentially it's the heiress showing the handmaiden, this is what he made me do. He made me read these books. So they went to the library, which of course the handmaiden wasn't allowed to be in there without like, you know, explicit permission. So like, showed her the explicit like things, and she cries one tear. The heiress cries one tear, and the handmaiden just like, I want to say torches the place, but she didn't directly just torch the entire. She just destroyed all the books. She was done. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
I must say, I did really enjoy the part where she's at first when she's destroying all of these, you know, erotic books that, you know, listen, I got no problem with erotic books, but when you're forcing erotic on someone, a child, it's fucked up, okay? And when she's destroying them, at first the heiress character doesn't participate, but very quickly participates, and they're laughing and they're just joyfully, gleefully destroying everything that this creepy uncle has spent his life building. And it's perfection.
Oh, and then the additional thing I wanted to say about that was, so there's a specific story, an explicit story that she had to read at one point that was about lesbians. It was a very particular thing. And then the fact that at the end they showed them essentially reclaiming that fully for themselves, like that was really cool that they directly did that, because you know there's probably a lot of trauma with her character and all this stuff, but like she was reclaiming that, and I thought that was neat.
I think that was also cool, like the whole like library scene. It was just that like the handmaiden showing her, it's like, no, I understand that these books hold like something like this magical grasp on you because of your trauma and what it is, but like this is all you have to do, one rip, and this is it, like that's it, just do it. And then like, because they had such a like strong connection, and because they actually trusted each other, because they had developed an actual like relationship with each other, like the heiress was able to like start doing it, and then they had fun with it too, and it wasn't even like, it was like cathartic, but it was also fun and like a release, and like them just throwing him in the like the little pool or whatever, and then throwing like dye or whatever it was and stomping on it and stuff and just having fun. It was
and really, I think that it sort of like spoke to how easy it was to destroy her uncle's collection, was how easy it was for them to destroy these men trying to ruin their lives. So it was like a really nice sort of like Komen, where it's just like, you are one, bigger than your trauma, and two, you can turn it against your abusers so easily, and I will help you do it. Full stop. Like, I ain't scared of shit. I'm like, if you're too scared to start ripping these books up, I'll do it first, so that you know that I'm in your team. I'm on your. I got your back.
You can see what it does to me. Like as soon as I rip it,
Yeah.
like what happens.
Nothing happened. Yeah,
you can do it too.
Nothing happens, but my fervor to rip more. It's an absolutely incredible movie.
Yeah, it's definitely a movie that like you have to experience, like more than just like us talking about it. Like, I mean, we could go into like super analysis, but I'm not going to do that. But it's so visually stunning. The cinematography is beautiful. The way that the director blocks scenes, it's just incredible. And just like the way, like, also just like little things too, like they switch in and out of Japanese and Korean too, and it adds this like underlying layer to it, especially if you have like any sort of like knowledge of the history of that time period at that point too, because it kind of adds to like the being captured and being in a place that you don't want to by like other people, you know, that sort of thing. And it just like it just like all adds to like a really great piece, especially the way that like the tension builds and the thriller aspects of it builds and the reveals happen. They're just, even though they're like so snappy and so quick, it's just like it shocks you. And like immediately, like I remember watching that first time when it switches and the handmaiden gets placed into the mental hospital. I was like, wait, what's going on? I wasn't expecting it at all. I was like, oh no, this just like threw me.
Because they did not give any obvious hints. Mm-hmm. Like, really.
They really didn't.
No, they didn't.
And especially
they took us like, on a ride.
Like, I didn't go in knowing there was any double cross. Like, if someone had said double crossing, I would have assumed it had to do with just double crossing the men and leaving or whatever. Like, that's all I would have assumed. I didn't expect, like, the women essentially double crossing each other initially. I was like, oh, shoot.
Ugh. I just, having like rewatched it, like I liked it just as much now as I did the first time I watched it.
I did too.
So like it's really good.
Like it's also very, very tense sometimes. Especially when you're around the dudes, like the dudes trying to have power over the women, like those types of scenes.
Yeah.
Very very intentionally suffocating feeling.
Yeah. Because they suck, and you're supposed to feel as trapped while watching it as the women do while dealing with them, which is brilliant filmmaking.
It's also like it also like acting. Shows how the handmaiden starts to like break down that too, like just like the way that like just her being naturally who she is starts to break down those like layers and kind of like start to like fracture it, which like just sends everything else spiraling. That like is the only reason why the heiress can do what she does, because she starts to realize what this person is, even though she like knows that she's a con artist, but like she's like, I get why you're a con artist, you just like that's your only job in life and you just need some money, but like you've genuinely been kind to me in certain aspects. Or like, you know, the one time where she was stopping and telling her about like how she can't like think about like her mom dying after her, you know, giving birth to her, because like her mom would have like thought that she was the greatest thing and that she wished that she didn't feel that bad. Like those like moments were really nice.
And I think the movie takes great pains to not make that like a sudden surprising character shift. Like when you first meet Suki, like the handmaiden, she's telling what their job that her and her little crew of miscreants is currently up to, which is taking abandoned babies and selling them to rich Japanese families who can't have children. And she's saying that one of the women is breastfeeding them and complains, and she's like, if I was breastfeeding them, I would never complain. I would make sure that they were happy before they went to live beautiful lives. And you're just like,
it was actually, one of them was just the one that was breastfeeding, it was their child and only breastfed her child, didn't breastfeed the other ones.
The other ones, And she's like, I wouldn't do that. Like,
no,
I would make sure these, children were happy before they went to live lives with rich people. And so it's that sort of, you start out where you're like, okay, she's not like some sort of cold, calculated con artist.
No.
She's just the choices for the orphaned child of a thief who's a female are very limited in 1930s Korea.
Yeah.
So
and it's just like it's something she can do. Like she's like good at like pickpocketing and good at all this stuff. So like that's what she's going to do because it's what's going to make her, you know, be able to survive.
Like if that's all she knows how to do to survive.
And her ultimate dream is just to get enough money just to leave that place. Like just go as far away as possible and just live life. Like that's all.
Live an ordinary life, live in a house and eat foreign food. Those are the things that she wants to do, which is a very small contained dream that's very understandable when you look at her life. And so it's like not surprising that she would be kind to this rich lady. And it's not surprising that she would join in on this plot because she's like, yeah, though we have very different lives, all you want to do is leave your oppressive state that you had no choice in to live an ordinary life that no one pays attention to you in. So in like a way, it's like they're two sides of the same coin, which is another like clever sort of narrative sort of, you know, drift where she goes in thinking, oh, this is just going to be some spoiled rich lady. No. And then it's like, oh no, that's not the case of what's happening here. And I just thought it was like, it is a very long movie. Now, I need to say this.
But it doesn't feel like it.
But you are in it to win it the whole time. Like,
it clicks along, man.
Yeah. All of a sudden you're like, wait. Like I had every intention to split up my watching between the 2 days. Because I started watching it after we did our live yesterday. And I was like, I can't do this. I have to be at work at 8 a.m. No, I watched the entire thing. I was like, well, I guess it's one. I guess. It's so good. It's incredible. I can easily say it's one of, if not my favorite Korean movie.
And you've watched a lot. You've watched a lot of Korean films.
Well, in the horror realm.
Yes. But and this we have to be clear. This isn't a horror.
No, but I'm saying relative, like all the movies that I've watched mostly are like in the horror.
And that genre.
It's like, and this is very much a psychological thriller.
Yeah. And it's got this like really nice like kind of like old school crime like drama like
noir vibe to it. Yeah.
Like almost like a like crime like novel as opposed to just like a crime show. It's got like a novel aspect to it, which I guess plays into like the books and stuff. And I mean,
going in when you're being told like, yeah, the creepy uncle guy, he's just a book collector and he just sells forged books.
He's trying to make money by forged books. Like,
oh, those types of books that he makes his niece read. That's super creepy. And not just let me be specific. I won't get into real detail, but like it's not simply just reading. Okay, there's some performance aspects with this as well. Some of them are obvious that are actually occurring. Other parts you wonder if it is just in the man's imagination. That's the part that I wanted to put an asterisk on. Like I couldn't quite tell. There was a bit that I was like, is that for reals or not? Like I couldn't really tell.
Also thought that like maybe they were also playing it and like might not be real. It might be like just her fragmented memories because of PTSD too. Because she had to like she started so early doing stuff.
Yeah.
Because he enforced it when she was basically learning Japanese. Like there's just a lot. I mean, that is the horror part of the movie is the uncle and what he does to her. But
yeah, so I will say that aspect of that is tough. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of trigger warnings for this movie, but
Yes.
that section it's difficult to watch that part.
It really is.
Yeah. When she's younger and stuff, it's really hard.
Hopefully the filming conditions weren't traumatic for her. But the actress has continued to act since then, so I think she survived okay.
Hopefully.
This feels like the type of movie, like, you occasionally watch a movie that has a child actor where you're like, that kid didn't go to the premiere of this film.
No. Well, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably not. I didn't look to see who it was.
She's only 18 this year, so
Oh, wow.
she would have been, I just looked her up. She would have
been like what is the year? What is
she was born in 2005.
11.
So she would have been 11 years old when making this film. Her name is Jo Eun-hyung. And she's been in quite a lot of stuff as, like, just small parts. Like a lot of, dramas and movies as, like, guest role, bit parts, small, guest role.
You know what this also reminded me of, and this is like a little side thing. It reminded me of that one tweet that one person did when what's her name, Kim Tae-ri, was in the drama.
Like, as far as her not being adult enough or whatever.
No, she was like, oh my god, this is like, they were talking about whatever drama that was. Let's figure this out. Kim Tae-ri was it 25-21?
Yeah.
Like, someone tweeted where they were like, oh my god, this is like Kim Tae-ri's first like kiss in any drama or movie.
And then we were like, I just remember Jessie and I were like, are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
I kept like seeing like
she done be
tweets
kissing
about it. You're like, she does a lot more in her first movie.
Yeah, like
a lot more. Oh, Sweet Summer Child.
Also, it's really funny if people are unaware. So, like, if you are new to the Korean entertainment scene, you must become aware of the fact that Korean films have a much different content code than the dramas have. And even the dramas, there's cable dramas and there's, like, basic TV. So, like, there's even different, like, kiss rules and all types of stuff, right? But when it comes to film, you must understand.
No rules.
No rules. You see, like, all.
This movie wasn't even rated NC-17. It was only rated R. No rules.
Would this have gotten released to the public in the West? It would not have at all. They would have cut out big parts.
It would have definitely been NC-17 in America. It would have gotten. I think it was shown in theaters in Quebec at least.
I could see it
because Quebec don't care.
Film festivals for sure.
Yeah. The way that, like, film ratings work is if something is rated PG-13 in America, in Canada it'll be rated PG, and in Quebec it'll be rated G. That's kind of how the rating.
That's weird. It's usually, like, done so specifically here that, like, it doesn't actually make any. It makes sense in, like, a pure, like, straightforward way. Like, you're like, if we were doing this on, like, Vibes, it wouldn't be that. But like,
right, it'll be
it's like immediately if it has drugs, it's
thus,
this. Yeah.
It's so stupid. Like, the rating system in America is ridiculous.
But that is to say, this movie would have a high rating. It would have a high rating.
Yes. Yeah. It would still be rated R in Quebec, is what I want to say. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
But it would just be funny for someone to, like, they're vibing with the typical Korean drama type stuff, and then they're like, The Handmaiden, I heard it was a good time. It's like, no, for what you ask.
Let's watch with my parents.
Yeah, do not watch with your parents.
Like, listen, do whatever you want. I'm not going to tell you your business, but
So has Mama Jo watched it?
No, hell no. And not because of what you think. It's not. My mom would not be fazed by lesbians going down on each other. Okay, she would not care. She can't take tense thrillers because they give her anxiety. So everything else about it, she'd be like, I can't watch this. I'm sorry, I can't watch. And it would not be the lesbian should be like, oh, that's good for them. Good for them. Like, good for them. But like, otherwise, no. No. Mama Joe would not be able to handle anytime there's like tense music playing. She has to get up and walk out of the room, like if we're watching something. So no, she can't. Not the sex stuff. The other stuff.
And what I was saying, like, I know this movie as it is could not be drama form. I'm just saying the tension, like, if you had more time, you could be really milking that tension even more as like the double crosses unfold and stuff. Like, there could be more there.
If there was like a Korean version of HBO, they could they could make it into a drama. But it
or a mini series or whatever, because then you could have the time to explore like the tension even more, essentially.
Yeah.
But it would have to be like an HBO style. Like, even if this was like made in the West, it would be made by HBO.
Yeah, it would be like HBO sort of, yeah.
Let's be real.
Whatever we call those.
Network television hates lesbians.
Yeah.
Hates them. Hates them.
Especially when they're having fun.
Yeah, especially when they're not being,
just prim and proper.
Lesbians enjoying each other as sexual beings. Primetime TV is like, absolutely.
What are you talking about?
Get the fuck out of here. In fact, actually, like, even like in the West, like, just movies in general, this movie would be rated NC-17 because the lesbians aren't violent. Like, it's not violent sex. It's pleasurable, happy. And like, they're like, that's pornography. Like, get fucked. Just
well,
or don't, don't. Never do. Just make every woman who passes you just dry up instantly. Absolutely not. No. Get that attitude out of here.
But really, like, if you think of it, if it was, instead of a lesbian couple, if it was a straight couple, it's like, oh, yeah, the West would be like, oh, okay, that's fine. Yeah. That's cute. Let's release that. Yeah. But also, the way the women do, like, stick it to the man and go about their business, like, that would not sit well.
No. You can't have women win. You can't have women win. What are we talking about? And only the men lose?
Honestly, if it was, like, a Western, they would have made it so that they would both have killed themselves.
Yeah. They would have committed suicide, not escaped on a boat.
They would have been caught, or they would have committed suicide. Like, that, those would have been your two options.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, it was poetic and
like
no,
Romeo
shove
and
that.
Juliet type stuff. Like, no. You know what? You know what's a poetic justice? Having some fun, kinky sex on a boat. That's poetic justice for these people. And,
cross-dressing and then that. Yeah. Thank you.
And I gotta say, that cross-dressing disguise, good. That was
actually really good.
Cross-dressing disguise.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah. Because
as far as
mustache.
Between the two of them, you'd guess, like, oh, the, like, servant character would be the one to, like, dress as a dude. No, the heiress pulled it off.
Listen, the servant character already has a passport. It's the heiress who needs a passport to get out of the country. And I did really enjoy how they actually tied the passport thing together, because when you first introduce the main character, Kim Tae-ree's character, she says, by the time, like, I don't know how to read, but by the time I was like 10, I knew how to forge, like, jewelry and silversmiths and seals and stuff. And then it ends with her taking the dude's passport and showing how she, like, forges his passport into a new passport for, the heiress. So,
yeah,
A+. Like, and actually, how they did it was kind of fascinating. Like, I was like, that is how you would forge a passport back in the day. Like,
also, so there was a moment where I was kind of, because it was a moment in the movie that it wasn't really tense, but you're like, what's she gonna do? So it's when the heiress is, they just kind of, like, they made the maid go to the mental institution. Like, so they're going through this the paces of this, and they're eventually going to, like, her and the con man are going to supposedly escape to whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're plotting, like, okay, we're gonna go to Japan and you're gonna have to marry me again, whatever. So then she puts some opium in his drink, and you're watching how much of it she's choosing to put, and then it cuts away. And they've already explicitly explained, 1 drop does this, 2 drops does that. The whole vial will kill you. So, like, the whole time you're like, did she put the whole thing in? Did she just do those 2 drops? What the crap did she do? So, like, you're waiting on it, and then finally it's like, oh, he woke up. That's just too bad.
You're like, dang it. But then you're like, wait, you know what?
That's fine.
You know what? I like this better. I like this
also,
better.
I also prefer to believe that they somehow purposefully, like, ratted him out and got those dudes there in order for him to be dragged back. Like, they made sure that happened somehow.
Like, okay.
They don't show any of that.
It didn't show any of that, but it did tie in. So the 3 people that she, like, is in her little con man crew do show up to, like, break her out of the insane asylum as part of the plot.
Right.
So clearly they've been read into this plan as well.
Yeah, I feel like there were machinations happening. So, like, I prefer
it might
to
have been
believe.
them doing it, you know, like, because I feel like she would have read them in on the whole situation. Like, the con man tried to con us too. Not today.
I just thought of something that I think is just, like, really great. Like, in the very beginning, he comes in and he's like, this is what we're gonna do, this is how we're gonna play it. Like, he literally just comes into their, like, little operation, is like, this is what we're gonna do, this is the con and this is stuff, and it fails so just majestically royally. Like, just, like, it just crashes and burns. And yet the women who work with the women, like, all just get this, like, really very detailed, like, thing done, and all the elements work really well, and everything goes perfectly, and, like, nothing happens.
Not nary a hitch to be seen. Like,
they were, like, level-headed. Can you please do this?
Works.
Okay, cool. All right. Oh yeah, I remember that you can do this, so I'll put you on this.
Yeah. They don't mess around.
Like, the men are absolute fucking clowns. Like, but that's what's so great about it, right? Because not only do we as an audience know they're clowns, we know that they think they're the smartest person in the room at all times. And they think, like, oh, these dumb women, like, because there's no world in which he doesn't immediately double cross the heiress and steal all her money.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's no world that he doesn't do that. And she knows this, because she's not stupid. Like everyone treats her like she is.
And one side note I just wish to point out, because sometimes this type of story, it can be thought like, oh wow, send somebody to a madhouse, like that wouldn't happen here. That did happen in the West too. Like, if you're unaware, that happened often to women. If they were just if a man was tired of a woman in any respect, she's gone. Like,
and
did Charles freaking Dickens even do that to his wife?
Absolutely,
yes.
He did.
So, like, it happened a lot.
Like, oh darn, they have hysteria because they got mad at me for probably being a terrible person.
Well,
hysteria.
Often it was like, how dare they backtalk me?
Yeah.
And then they're just gonna make them go away. So I just wanted to put that, like, little cultural aspect there. If you're on, because I wasn't really aware for a while about that type, and then when I ran across, I was like, the huge history of that. Like, just know that
that's
is
literally the plot of Jane Eyre, right? Like, that's literally Jane Eyre. Thematic wife. Jane Eyre. Like, there's a podcast. I forget what it's called, but they came up with thematic wife. It's fuckboys of history of literature.
Oh,
or fuckboys of history. Yeah, it's a very good one. But yeah, thematic wife. You'd be like, no, actually, she was right. She was right to burn him in his sleep. Like,
another thing that I wonder how, like, old white dudes received this film.
I don't think that this is a film made for men in any stretch of the imagination. So I don't think it matters how they received it, because this wasn't for them.
I know, but like, since that's often the dudes are often, especially, you know, they're kind of the voice of critics, right? Like, as far as film critics or whatever, right? So like, it just made me think of how would they have reacted, because that's always like what it's been, right?
Yeah.
How do they react?
Well, it does have a 96% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
well, there you go.
They apparently did enjoy it.
Well, but you know, like before Rotten Tomatoes, I'm just, you know, back in the day, it was always, you kind of had that singular voice as being the critic to have a claim on something. At least back when we were growing up, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. I gotta admit, I'm now on Rotten Tomatoes, so I just Googled it to see. And let's just say the language used by male critics and the language used by female critics, very
Jurassic.
different. Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
That's 4 out of 5 on RogerEbert.com.
I mean, so like one guy writes like talking all about the director and how good the director is, but then he calls it an overwrought sexual melodrama.
Oh God!
But then the next review is from a woman, and it says, "Is a lush, silken, erotic, disturbing, beautifully photographed drama of betrayal and passion." That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Like,
overwrought. How dare they have emotions and do things? It was more like, I was just thinking that dudes would watch it and they'd be like, how dare the women? Like, even if it's a subconscious thing, I really think that it would still, you know, it'll still be like, oh, there's something kind of wrong with this movie. It's not quite right, because they won't even be able to put it into words because they can't freaking figure it out.
Like, anyway, to be honest, I don't even know why I'm looking at these reviews. I don't care about them. And neither should you while watching The Handmaiden, because I think it really says they don't matter.
It's just always funny because, like, gender being a social construct and all that stuff, and it's just like, but no, gotta always keep the women under our thumbs because that's the thing to do in patriarchy.
Boo.
Boo.
Boo hiss.
Thumbs down.
So, ladies,
throw a tomato.
Boo! Boo! Rotten ones. So, ladies, do we have any final thoughts about The Handmaiden before we sign off?
Go watch it, especially this month, you know. Yeah. It works out.
Let's go, lesbians!
But yeah, even rewatch it, because like you ladies rewatched it and really enjoyed it.
The rewatch was great, which is like really great for like just like a movie that is like, a lot of it is that like, oh my gosh, that just happened, and even with the knowledge, it's still like a fantastic movie to watch. I think you just pick up so much more, and just like, it's just so visually stunning. I think that's also like an added thing. Like, you just watch it and you're like, I just love the way that like they set up this shot and the way that they're playing with like the scenery and like, you know, just out in the forest those times. It's just so good.
I think it's beautifully filmed, beautifully acted, beautifully written, and it's kind of just an absolute perfection put on film. Like, it's perfect. I couldn't think of any way to make it better.
No,
honestly, yeah.
And I will say, so like, the sexual content aspect, given that it is set in the 1930s, like, that makes it even more fascinating, right? Because like, it's never been that there was a time period in history that people didn't have sexual relations, also, right? Like, that's always been. Lesbians have always been.
It's not just like poof into existence recently.
But I'm just saying, as far as like, since it is the historical backdrop of, it was even more unspoken to do things, you know, like for lesbians to be in relationships like, so like, it's cool. Like the fact that it's historical too kind of makes it even more fascinating
Yeah.
that they put it in that. And as we talked about, and we didn't really go into it because but the Japanese Korea relationship thing, it is a fascinating aspect of it, and it even kind of goes a little bit more into that with just a couple things that are said, because it's obvious that the bad dude, even though he's Korean, he doesn't want to be Korean. Like, so there's aspects of that are they don't go super deep into it, but they go enough that it's definitely an aspect of the film that they're trying to make some statements with that.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
So I highly, highly recommend it. It is not for everybody because, so like we just said with Mama Joe, some people can't do the thriller
no
aspect.
But if you can, A+. 4 thumbs up.
Do not watch with little children around.
Yeah, no, there's explicit lesbian sex in it, and also just explicit creepiness. So
just do not.
Yeah,
just not for
and
literally,
and maybe not in a public forum. Like maybe not when you're like on a plane.
Don't
do that, please.
This definitely isn't one that I would pick to watch on one of my epic train rides. That's for sure. Not the choice.
You're not reaching for that to put on your download thing.
No. I'm not putting that. That's not one of my options that I leave for myself while on my 18-hour train ride. That's Anyway, this has been another episode of the Hit List.
Woo!
Thank you for listening with it. Bless Sky. Hit List, bless Sky, who joined us. She joins us occasionally we'll get her back one of these days. We hope you enjoyed listening to us. And you can listen to us wherever podcasts can be found, and also on YouTube, where all of our episodes that we've ever done are all there and in their YouTube podcast thing now, which is like a thing that they have now apparently. So you can listen to us pretty much there, but if you want like links and time codes, everything we talk about, you have to go to certifiednoonas.com, our website, and there will be, every episode also has a blog post that details all of that stuff, and you can even listen to it on the website. We make it so easy for you to listen to us, I swear. If you want to support this podcast, you can go to patreon.com/certifiednoonas to become a certified found family. They're our family on the web, and we just think they're A+, the tops. And, we have live streams too. We do live streams every week over on YouTube. So
they're so much fun.
Check them out as well. Anyway, we hope you have a fantastic week. As always, wash your hands, wear a mask, especially people who are dealing with the wildfires and the smoke and everything. Take care of yourselves and keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Goodbye.
Bye.